If you've ever felt like you work twice as hard as everyone else, but the money never stays, stop. Because there may be an invisible energy block that no amount of effort can break through alone. You know what's strange? Most people throw away broken mirrors without a second thought. It's just shattered glass, right? But let me tell you something I learned from my family stories. Something that completely changed the way I understand prosperity and energy. There is an ancient secret in Kabbalah about broken mirrors that most people have never learned. And when you understand what I'm going to reveal today, you'll look at every fragment of your life in a completely different way. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm going to share is not theory. It's ancient wisdom, preserved for generations, that has the power to transform the way the energy of prosperity flows in your life. But first, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now. Click on the bell too, because every week I bring teachings that you won't find anywhere else. And tell me in the comments, have you ever broken a mirror and felt that tightness in your stomach? That feeling of, oh, bad luck? I want to know. Today you will discover 3 things that will surprise you. First, why Jewish tradition treats broken mirrors completely differently than popular culture teaches. Second, the concept of tikkun, which is the Hebrew word for correction and restoration, and how it directly applies to prosperity in your life. And third, a practical exercise that you can start today using fragments and imperfections as real spiritual tools. Let me tell you a story I heard in my family. Imagine an elderly Jewish man, a descendant of immigrants who came from Eastern Europe in the early last century. This man, I will call him Reb Moshe for our parable, had a small fabric business in a town in the countryside. One day, a large mirror at the entrance of the store fell and shattered into many pieces. The customers who were in the store stepped back. Some murmured about bad luck. But Reb Moshe, according to this story I was told, did something unexpected. He asked his children to carefully gather each fragment. He stored everything in a wooden box. And he said a phrase that stayed in the family. What breaks reveals what was hidden inside. In the following months, Reb Moshe used the fragments of the mirror as an object of meditation. He looked at each piece and asked, what does this part reflect that the whole mirror did not show? And the story goes that it was during this period of reflection that he made the best decisions for his business. Because he stopped seeing only the complete image and began to see the details. This parable carries a profound Kabbalistic teaching. In Hebrew, mirror is called mar'ah, mareh, and the root of this word is the same root as vision, to see, to perceive. The mirror is not just an object that reflects appearance. In Jewish mystical tradition, it represents the ability to see reality clearly. And here is the first major blockage that most people carry without knowing. We have been taught that what is broken is disposable, that imperfection is failure, that what breaks must be thrown away. And this mentality, this mental program, contaminates the way a person treats not only objects, but also opportunities, relationships, and even life itself. In Kabbalah, there is a concept called Shevirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels. It is one of the deepest ideas in all of Jewish mysticism. According to this teaching, before creation as we know it, there were vessels of divine light. But these vessels could not contain the intensity of the light and broke. The fragments fell. And the material world as it exists today is built on these fragments. Think about that for a moment. The very foundation of existence is made of something that broke. This means that the broken is not discarded by creation. The broken is the raw material of creation. And the human mission, what the wise call tikkun olam, which literally means correction of the world, is precisely to work with these fragments, restore, elevate, transform what seems lost into something sacred. Now tell me, how much of your life have you treated as a disposable fragment? That business opportunity that didn't work out as you planned? Fragment. That relationship that ended painfully? Fragment. That investment that didn't yield what you expected? Fragment. That project that was left unfinished? Fragment. And what did you do with these fragments? Threw them away? Buried them? Tried to forget? The ancient wisdom of Kabbalah says, never throw away your fragments, because within each fragment lies a spark of divine light waiting to be rescued. In Hebrew, these sparks are called nitzotzot, sacred sparks trapped in what seems broken. And that is exactly why there is a tradition, preserved in some Jewish families, of not simply discarding broken mirrors carelessly, because the broken mirror becomes a physical reminder of this spiritual truth. What has been shattered still contains something valuable. Now I will show you how this connects directly with prosperity. There is another fundamental Hebrew term to understand this teaching: shefa, abundance, flow, outpouring of blessing. In the Kabbalistic tradition, shefa is the energy of prosperity that flows continuously from above to below, like water from a spring. It does not stop. It has no end. The question is never whether abundance exists. It always exists. The question is, what is blocking the flow? And here is the revealed secret that very few people know. The shefa blockages, the prosperity blockages, often come from unresolved fragments. Situations that broke and were buried instead of being worked through. Resentments held, unforgiven mistakes, hidden shames. These fragments do not disappear. They remain in the person's energy system, creating what the Kabbalists call klipot, shells, layers that envelop and suffocate the light. Imagine a tap of clean water. If you wrap plastic around its outlet, the water does not stop existing, but the flow is impeded. The klipot work like this. It's not that the blessing has disappeared from your life, it's that it is encountering resistance in the unresolved fragments you carry. And a broken mirror, in the tradition that some families have preserved, can serve as a spiritual working object precisely to access these fragments and begin the process of tikkun, of correction. Imagine someone like Doña Maria, a woman in her 50s who works with great dedication but feels that prosperity never arrives as it should. A pattern that often appears in people in this situation is the following. There is a story of breakage that has not been processed in some area of life. It could be a partnership that ended badly, a business that failed, an inheritance that caused family conflict, and this person unconsciously carries that fragment as a weight, not as raw material. When this pattern changes, when the person starts to work on the fragments instead of burying them, something in the flow of energy begins to move differently. I am not promising magical results. I am saying that the consistent practice of this work cultivates a different quality of presence, perception, and decision-making. And this, over time, transforms what the person attracts and how they receive. Now I will give you the third fundamental Hebrew concept of this teaching, and then we will move on to the practical part. Bitul. Generally translated as annulment or humility, but in Hasidic Kabbalah it has a more subtle and powerful meaning. Bitul is the state of becoming transparent, of stopping the resistance to the flow, of letting the light pass through instead of trying to control it. Do you know what happens when you hold a fragment of a mirror and let the sunlight touch it? It projects light in all directions. Sometimes it creates rainbows. The broken fragment, in the right transparency, diffuses more light than the whole mirror would reflect. This is bitul. This is what ancient wisdom tries to teach you through the symbol of the broken mirror. When you stop resisting what has broken in your life and start to work with transparency, without defensiveness, without shame, without the need to hide, you become a channel of Shefa instead of an obstacle to it. Now let's move on to the practical part, because knowledge without practice is like a mirror without light. It serves no purpose. First exercise. Call it inventory of fragments. Set aside at least 20 minutes in a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Take paper and pen, not your phone, actual paper. And write, without filtering, everything you feel has broken in your life in the past few years. It can be small or large. Business, relationship, project, dream, plan. Write as if you are listing fragments in a box. No judgment, just name it. After you finish listing, look at each item and write next to it a question. What spark might be hidden here? You don't need to answer immediately, just ask the question. This act of questioning already begins the movement of tikkun. Second exercise. Mirror meditation. If you have a cracked mirror or a fragment of a mirror at home, and there is no problem at all in having it, contrary to what popular superstition says, use it. If you don't have one, you can use a regular mirror. Sit in front of the mirror for 7 minutes. Look at the reflection of your eyes. And in a low voice, repeat these words 3 times. What has broken in me carries light. I am ready to see that light. I am ready to receive it. 7 minutes. 7 consecutive days. The number 7 in Hebrew, Sheva, is deeply connected to the idea of completeness and cycle. 7 days represent a complete cycle of intentionality. Third exercise. Personal tikkun practice. Take one of the fragments you listed in the first exercise, the one that carries the most emotional weight, not the easiest one, and dedicate 21 days to it. 21 because it is 3 cycles of 7, a number of deep transformation in the Jewish tradition. During these 21 days, every morning you write 1 line about that fragment. Not to revisit the past with pain, but to ask, what does this fragment still have to teach me? How can I transform this into something that serves my path moving forward? Fourth exercise. Invocation of Shefa. This is a practice of language, and in the Kabbalistic tradition, words have real weight. Every day, before starting your work, your routine, before coming into contact with money, business, any transaction, you say aloud, "May the flow of Shefa, the abundance of the eternal, find in me an open channel. May my fragments be transformed into light. May my work today be an expression of tikkun." It is not automatic magic. It is a reorientation of intention. And intention in Kabbalah is the force that determines the quality of everything you do. Fifth exercise. Gratitude for the fragments. Every Sunday night, which in the Jewish tradition marks the beginning of the week, as Shabbat ends and a new week begins, you list 3 fragments from the past week for which you choose to be grateful. Not because the pain was good, but because the spark within them is real. I am grateful for this fragment because it showed me. With consistent practice over 40 days and 40 is the number of transformation par excellence in the Torah, 40 years in the desert, 40 days of Noah. This approach cultivates a fundamental change in the way you perceive and receive abundance. Now I need to tell you something important, and I ask that you listen carefully. The greatest resistance that will arise when you begin these practices will not come from outside. It will come from within. It is what Kabbalah calls Yetzer Hara, the opposing impulse, the voice that sabotages, that says, "This won't work, it's nonsense, I don't have time, I'll start next week." This voice is always more intense right at the beginning of a new practice. It appears just when you are about to touch something real. Recognize it by name, without fighting it, and continue. Jewish wisdom does not ask that you be perfect. It asks that you be persistent. There is a phrase in Hebrew that the wise repeat. The fall of the righteous is an ascent. Because even those who fall rise with the wisdom of what the ground has taught. You will have days when you forget to practice. You will have days when you feel that nothing is changing. This is not a sign that the practice doesn't work. It is a sign that you are human, and that the real process of transformation happens in layers, not in a straight line. Keep honest expectations. I'm not telling you that a check will arrive in your mailbox in 7 days. I'm telling you that with consistent practice, over time, the quality of your perception will change. And when perception changes, decisions change. And when decisions change, results change. If you've made it this far, you've already done something that most people never do. You chose to sit with a complex teaching and let it sink deep. Tell me in the comments, which of the 5 exercises will you start with first? I want to know what makes more sense for where you are in your life right now. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, someone who feels like the flow of life has stalled, share this video with that person. Because wisdom kept to oneself stops growing. Shared wisdom multiplies. Next week, I will bring a teaching about the concept of mazal, which does not mean luck in the way most people think. Mazal has a completely different root in the Kabbalistic tradition. And understanding its true meaning can change the way you position yourself in front of opportunities. Stay tuned to the channel. And now, before I finish, let me speak directly to you. I don't know what is broken in your life. I don't know the size of your fragments. But I know, with the certainty of someone who has learned this through generations of teaching, that no fragment is beyond the reach of tikkun. None. The same Eternal, who created the world through the breaking of vessels, can create something new and powerful through the fragments of your history. You are not defined by what has broken. You are defined by what you do with the pieces. May the Eternal bless you and keep you. May the Eternal make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Eternal lift up his face to you and grant you peace. Peace.